Everything is personal right here. Everything is personal right here.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of Everything is Personal. And our guest today is Mr. Daniel Raz. Now, before I'm introducing you, so welcome to the show. But Daniel Raz Israeli, is that a description, or are you adding that as part of your name?
That is my full name. Daniel Raz is my middle name, but when I first started creating social media, like for business, I just wanted to separate Daniel Israeli and Daniel Raz.
Got it. Is there any way you can turn up your volume like a little bit more?
Yeah.
Just want to make sure I hear you correct.
Can you hear me better now?
A little bit. I attend a lot of concerts in my day. My hearing is not the greatest, so I'm sure everybody else can hear you, but it's on me. All good. So speaking of, since you brought that up, where did you grow up?
So I was born in Israel, and when I was 6, my family and I moved to China, and this was 2004. China was very different than what it is now. Exactly what you think it was in the movies. There was skinless dogs hanging upside down, people were eating all sort of things, and I was the most picky eater on the planet. And because there was only hardcore Chinese food and McDonald's, I ate nothing but McDonald's from ages 6 to 12. And yeah, I was gonna say hardcore Chinese food is not like Panda Express. It's not
That's
like
what I was
Chinese food
going to
in
ask
China.
you, if you can
Yeah,
get
it's
into that a
very
little
different.
bit. Yeah, and like what part of China?
So Shenzhen, it's by Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I guess for people that don't know, because some people may know, some people may not. The cuisine is different depending what region of China that
Yeah.
you're living in, right?
Yeah.
So, what are some of the interesting choices that were available to you at that time?
I mean, especially back then, they had way less regulations of what animals they could eat, which is basically none. Nothing was off limits, right? So a lot of seafood that, yeah, I forgot what it's called. There's like cucumber, sea cucumber. It's like, yeah, many different animals. Like I didn't even know that existed. So on top of that, I was extremely picky to begin with.
Uh,
So that is why I ate nothing but McDonald's age 6 to 12. If it wasn't chicken nuggets or hot chocolate from Starbucks, I did not consume it
so,
for
so
the entire time.
I'm just fascinated about this because, and I've had McDonald's maybe a few times in my life, and I haven't had McDonald's since maybe I was like 18 or so. But my daughter sometimes travels all over the world. When you go to a different McDonald's, like the food is different, right? Or is it the same burger and chicken nuggets in or Big Mac, whatever they call it, in China as it is anywhere else?
It's a bit different everywhere else, but like fries are fries at the end of the day. Chicken
Yeah,
nuggets are chicken nuggets. Like
yeah.
there's only so many variations you can have to it.
Unless they're using a different animal, not a chicken, and they're calling it a chicken
Yeah.
nugget for sure. Uh, Going back to you moved to China, like what was the reason to move to China?
Yeah, my dad has a business and everything is made in China. So he wanted to be closer to with the factories because he makes like plastic materials. So
Got
basically
it.
closer to where all the manufacturers are.
So just so I can get a better understanding of your childhood and growing up. So your parents, were they together, and do you have
Yeah.
siblings? Did you move as a whole family?
Yeah, we moved as a whole family. I'm the youngest of three.
Right.
And yeah, when I moved, I was 6 years old and I stayed there till I graduated high school.
So you speak, is it Mandarin?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mandarin.
Okay.
Not well at all because I went to an
No?
international school. And actually, it's interesting. In China, they have a rule, like a law, that Chinese people are not allowed to be in American international schools, right? So it was only foreigners in the international schools. There was no Chinese people.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So there's no cross pollination. Like
I
you're
mean, like we had like Chinese class, and obviously every time we went to a restaurant, like people there spoke Chinese. But in the school, I mean, there wasn't any Chinese people, but there were Chinese people with African passports that they bought or got somehow, or Chinese people with back then was ways to get Canadian passports. So there's a lot of people that Chinese people that got Canadian passports, but
uh,
nobody with a Chinese passport was allowed by the Chinese government, not by our school, to go to our school.
interesting. So were you isolated from like even when you out of school, did you have to were you integrated in the culture of Chinese people? Were you kept kind of more insulated from that?
Yeah, because everyone who I hanged out with was basically foreigners as well from like Brazil or Korea or maybe the US, right? So like we were kind of our own group. But obviously every time you go out, you're interacting with Chinese people.
Right. So you were there and you graduated high school in
Yeah.
China?
Yeah.
Okay. So going back to um was there as you're growing up, was there something that you like I'm trying to understand what kind of child you were. Like, were you into art? Were you, if your dad is an entrepreneur, was he trying to get you to be more entrepreneurial? Were you into sports or
Yeah. So at the age of 12, I started playing basketball. Before the age of 12, uh, I was actually a child model because I was one of the first like non-Chinese people in China, right? So there's actually a couple of magazines of me like in Walmart trying different clothes because also back then they didn't really have any like privacy. They just come up to you, see a white person, and touch you because they've never seen any person like that. So they just come up and like ask for photographs and touch you as if you're a celebrity or something, right? Because uh, now there's so many foreigners, it's not special,
yeah.
right? But back then it was a lot more unique. And yeah, age 12, I started playing basketball, and that's when I started to eat healthier because my brother convinced me if I wanted to get better at playing basketball, I should eat healthier. And that is when I started my journey of trying different foods. That wasn't just chicken nuggets and hot chocolate, grilled cheese, banana, like even simple things. I remember the first time I tried them.
I'm so eating McDonald's and I'm making an assumption that
Yeah.
that's not healthy food. Did you have any health challenges at that time that you were aware of?
I mean, I was so young, so I don't think anything was drastic, but like, yeah, definitely was not a healthy child at all.
Right. So you visibly didn't look as healthy as you could. Was that the case, or you just felt that you weren't really healthy?
Like I think I looked like the average 12 years old, but
Okay.
like probably just it is interesting because so many people, when you ask them about their childhood, they talk about either childhood trauma or either childhood memories. I don't remember anything
Huh.
before the age of 12. So that's probably a part of it. Like I just know from stories of my parents, but I don't actually have memories prior to the age of 12.
Well, you need to maybe think about having that child regression therapy go back.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some trauma there that you blocked out that you may not be aware of.
Maybe, or maybe it was all roses the entire time. I have no idea. I legit don't remember.
Yeah, Mel, McDonald's, he had some cognitive impairment due
Yeah.
to. You ever see that documentary "Super Size Me" with Morgan
Yeah.
Spurlock?
Yeah.
That's why when you were saying that, that sort of struck me. Like, eat McDonald's for a whole year, only McDonald's, and then he had all kind of medical things that were going on. But I guess as a 12-year-old, your metabolism's so fast that
Yeah.
you're
It
not
doesn't
you're
really
not really
matter. Yeah.
feeling it that much. So when
But
you
I
started,
do believe everybody can change their taste buds no matter what. Because now I eat pretty much anything, and I used to eat literally nothing, right? So I believe you can always do that. Doesn't matter how old you are.
so your brother said you should eat healthy or what so you can be better at basketball. Do you
Yeah,
remember what you actually ate as your first sort of meal outside of McDonald's?
I think it was grilled cheese, which is just bread and cheese. And I know that sounds insignificant to most people, but it was just so different from what I was used to. Because I legit just ate chicken nuggets in McDonald's, refused to eat anything else. And my mom would be like, okay, I'm ready, let's try this. I'm like, huh, it doesn't taste that bad. And I was extremely proud of myself once I tried banana and I actually liked it. I'm like, okay, I actually like a healthy food. Then what else can I accomplish?
So you never didn't eat fruit either, just
Nothing,
not.
nothing, nothing.
Okay, got it. Um, okay, so and as you started eating more healthy, did your basketball skills improve?
Yeah, they did. That's pretty much all I did as a teenager. Just play basketball and try different foods, expand my taste buds, which at first was easy because literally everything was expanding it. And I would say from 12 to 17, that probably all I did play basketball all the time. And at 17, I also started lifting weights, getting more to the gym. And I realized that unlike a basketball, I could take my body with me everywhere I went. So it was a much more transferable skill because I was confident on the basketball court, but nowhere else. But once I got my body in shape as well, then I could take that confidence with me everywhere I went. And I felt like, okay, this is something I should focus more on.
As you growing up, were you were you planning to be like an athlete? Were you
Yeah.
like was that your goal to be a professional basketball player?
I mean, yeah, I wanted to play in the NBA, but quickly realized that was not realistic. But as a teenager, you have a lot of dreams.
Yeah. What did you have a fault like? All right, maybe not NBA, but maybe I can play international basketball. Maybe I can play, Maccabi. I don't know, something like that.
I mean, I always wanted to, but like I was never like truly good enough
Yeah.
to compete in those levels. And yeah, once I started lifting weights and taking care of my body, that's when I started getting more into personal training, and I decided to become a personal trainer as well. So I went to university for exercise and nutrition, right, to be a personal trainer, and worked at a few gyms. Then 2020, everything shut down, and that's when I started my online business, helping people lose weight online.
When you started working out and going to the gym, was your goal to, I'm just going to get healthy? I wanted to have definite, like, I want to have a defined body. I want to have this beach body. Was it more like, I want to power lift? I want to build strength, or maybe I'm a bodybuilder type of, like, did you have any sort of direction that you were trying to get to?
Yeah, I kind of just wanted to look better, right? That's pretty much it. Because even though I played a bunch of basketball, you can be like athletic, you can be good at basketball, but not look that good, right? You can just be skilled,
Yeah.
right? And that's why kind of where I was. So I wanted just to, yeah, basically lift weights, resistance training to look better. And once I realized that, again, I just felt like that was a more transferable skill. I felt like if I was to put 3 hours into basketball, that only improved me in basketball. If I put 3 hours into my body, that helped me everywhere I went.
What is the role of nutrition in working out? And I'm going to ask this like as a two-part question. I asked you like if you had a goal in mind to be a bodybuilder or to have like a beach body or to, so you have a goal in mind. Do you have to align your nutrition to the goal that you want to achieve and the exercise program aligned together with the nutrition program?
100%. Because if you look at the way, marathoners eat or UFC people eat or basketball, like it's all different because they have different goals, right? That's when, because obviously, especially as a kid, you're so impressionable. You hear this is the best diet, and you think they're talking to you. But what they actually mean is this is the best diet for this specific person who has this specific goal at this specific time. Right? But you don't hear that. You don't hear all the context with it. So obviously, I tried like a million diets because I heard this is the best, this is the best. I didn't know who to believe. It took me a long time to realize it's all context dependent. It depends obviously on your goal, who you are as a person, what you want to achieve, how old you are, etc.
It's interesting because I'm having this conversation with my daughter, and she's like, "Yeah, my mom said, uh, don't eat avocado toast with egg. Eat your egg." And I'm sure my daughter's going to listen to this, or maybe she doesn't care. But eat my egg first, wait, then eat my avocado toast. And I was like, why? Well, mom said about food combining and carbs and proteins. I'm like, I don't know if that's really true anymore. And it may be some sort of myth. I mean, you're metabolizing. It's not like your body is gonna say, you know what? Let me take this bread. I'm gonna put it over here for a while. I'm gonna metabolize everything else. Then I'm gonna make a call, and they're gonna bring the bread over, and then they're gonna metabolize it. You have enzymes that release and metabolize. So I'm trying to figure out how do these things get started? Like, and because there is no real, a lot of them doesn't have evidence. Like, yeah, I'm going to eat the carnivore diet, and it's all I'm going to do is eat a carnivore diet. And maybe, as you were saying, you have results, visible results, but is there harm to what you're doing? And how do you go about aligning somebody with what they should be putting in their body for the output that they want to, achieve, which is looking good and feeling good, maybe having more endurance and all those other things.
So while you were telling that story, it reminded me of, you know how the common saying, the 5 second rule, if you drop something on the floor, you have like 5 seconds if to eat it. But
Right.
it's not like the germs are holding each other, be like, wait, three, two, okay, now let's grab the food. No, as soon as the food drops on the floor, there's germs in it. So it doesn't matter if it's half a second or 29 seconds. Sure, if you leave it for 10 minutes, the likelihood that more insects would be on it is greater than if you leave it for a few seconds. However, if your floor is dirty and you drop food on the floor, there's likely bacteria on it. So yeah, there's a bunch of sayings that people say that don't make sense, and I think in general, yeah, there's a lot of people that don't question enough just things that sound good or just like sayings that people say, if that's true or not, especially if that's true, particularly for them. So going back to the question, I mean, I can think of any scenario in which waiting to eat the toast 20 minutes makes any difference. But I would say there are scenarios in which carnivore diet does make sense for specific individuals who have a specific goal, a specific time, right? However, to most individuals, probably not the best,
So
right? But
what would be so you're talking about short-term bursts, like if I am bulking up because I need to go and perform some sort of act. I don't know. I can't think of anything right off the bat, but I have an okay. I do have an example. So I was listening. I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan, if
mm,
American
yeah,
football, and I was listening to the offensive linemen, their diet, what they eat, and I was like, oh my God! I mean, you're eating so much meat, so many potatoes, and so much carbs, but there's a reason why, because they need to be really bulky and big. And I heard that they even fine them for losing weight because they need to be agile, working out, but they need to be big. So they're massive. So there is a reason why they eat something like that. Normally, in every day, you wouldn't eat like 6,000 calories, and because you're not
yeah.
going to be, burning them, it's going to convert into fat. So I understand what you mean, but usually there it's short. If you have a special diet, quote unquote, that you're creating for that, it's usually a short-term solution for something you need in the short term. You wouldn't be like, this wouldn't be your lifestyle kind of diet. Is that what you kind of mean by that?
100%. So the best like long-term solution is foods that you enjoy and are healthy that don't take a long time to make because that's something you can stick to for the long term, right? So by definition, any meal plan is likely not going to be good for you, right? Because it's vague, right? likelihood that what works perfectly for one person is the exact same foods that you should eat is not very high. And there's also some foods that can be, healthy for one person, but another person might have an allergic reaction, right?
Right.
So that's why, obviously, a tailored approach is the best way to go.
So how do you, I'm glad you said that because a tailored approach, I think makes a lot of sense. I believe in, personalized everything kind of thing. And that's the name of the podcast. Everything is personal. But how do you go about, like, if we were to engage in sessions, right? And I'm engaging you for personal training, all that. Like, what would be, how do you know how to personalize this to me?
Hmm. So that's a great question. One of the first things I do is I tell my clients to write everything they enjoy eating and don't filter if it's healthy, convenient, expensive. Just write everything down. After that, underline what you believe is also healthy. Now, what I just said, anybody can do at home. But obviously, my clients have the benefits of me being there because I can be like, hey, actually, that's not the best. Probably shouldn't underline that. Or I can also say, hey, notice you didn't underline this. How come? Right? Because there's always a few myths. But in general, most people would have an 80% accuracy. And if you just do that, you'll have a list of foods that is both healthy and tasty. And if you simply make that your quote unquote meal plan, it that 80% of the time, you'll be pretty good to go, pretty good on your way. And after that, we can start playing around, be like, okay, try this food. How do you feel after? Try take away that food. See how you feel after you eat that or don't eat that. Right? Because that's how you actually individualize it. Um, Otherwise, it's just guessing, right? You have to try different foods.
Do people come to you because, you mentioned that you want to align the food with the goal in the exercise program? Do they come to you saying some similar to what you said? I just want to look better. I want to, lose the extra pounds, but I want to look better. I want to be able to go on the beach and wear my, beach attire and look good. Or do people come to you with more specific, like, a I have an athletic event. You're mentioning like a marathon runner, or I'm an athlete for playing sports, or I want to power lift or something of that nature, or is it all over the place?
It's definitely the former, not the latter. Definitely just to look better, to feel better,
Yeah.
because the people I typically work with are not looking to be bodybuilding world champions or run ultra marathons or some miracle diet.
Mhm.
They're looking to the normal like 40 or 50 years old that a businessman, have a bunch of things going on, family oriented, and simply want a way to not even have a six pack, right? Just be comfortable taking their shirt off. Just get off medications, get off CPAP, things of that nature, right? So
Uh,
I help a lot of people that start from 300 pounds to 200 pounds, right? And if you're 200 pounds, 6 foot, you're not like a model. But after you lose 100 pounds, you feel way better. You're a different person, right?
yeah.
So that's more of the people that I work with.
Uh, do you adjust, like, as you go on with your exercise program, are you adjusting on the fly, not just your exercise program? I do want to get into like different exercise and all that stuff, but do you align nutrition along with that? Let me ask this question differently. Uh, like, I haven't eaten meat in 15 years, give or take. So I eat fish, and yeah, I guess pescatarian would be the label that you
Yeah.
would put on me. There was a lot of that 15 years. I didn't eat eggs either. No real reason why, and I reintroduced eggs into my meal plan. So I'm asking this question as you go on and you're collaborating, because one of the important things is you're not just giving somebody a program, you're
Yeah.
monitoring and you're having that interaction, so you're making adjustments on the fly. So do you or I'm just I guess I'm answering the question for you. Do you make adjustments on the fly as people continue to be with your program so you can continue to kind of modify it?
100%. Almost no week looks the same, and definitely no month looks the same. Because if you do the same thing and expect different results, that's the definition of insanity,
Yeah.
right? And obviously, as an individual person who doesn't deal with this, it's difficult to change all the time because you're not sure if you're choosing the right direction. That's why obviously it's a lot easier to have someone do it for you. It's kind of like, I mean, if you're like a teacher, math teacher, Spanish teacher, doesn't matter. You're not going to teach the same lesson every single class. There has to be some sort of progression, right? Otherwise, you're not going to reach the end goal. So yeah, it definitely varies a lot. And the benefits of, unlike a class, it's more like a private tutor because some people progress faster than others. Some people are stronger in other areas. So if for whatever reason your chest is way stronger than your quads, I'm not going to give you the same level of leg workout and chest workout, right? That won't make sense.
So I think we started talking about this, but I want to go back to it. You interviewed me originally. You asked me about my food choices. You had me, complete a food diary. Now we took out things that are like, let's not eat a donut for breakfast every day. That's taken out. So I have my meal plan. What then? Do I have a specific, do you test me for, as you were saying, this is strong in this. Is there a certain thing that you want me to do first, or you just give me a plan based on that?
Yeah, so basically, I would give a workout for the day. Then you'd rate it from a scale of 1 to 10, 1 super easy, 10 super difficult. What was easy, what was difficult, through all the exercises. If you have any injuries, obviously take that into account. See how many reps you did, and then from there, next workout, obviously adjust. Then from there, obviously adjust, right? It's kind of like if I was a driving instructor. It's not like I have, okay, firstly, I'm going to tell him this, then I'm going to tell him this, because what if he doesn't need any help signaling, but he needs a lot of help braking, right? So it's not like before I meet you, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna spend 30 minutes on braking, 20 minutes on signaling, 30 minutes on the highway. Like it depends, right? So yeah.
So, uh, by answering the question of I did this. I'll be trying to be more specific. So in your workout regimen for me, your first workout, you're gonna may tell me, and correct me if I'm wrong, interrupt me if I'm off base. So you may say, do some pull-ups, do some push-ups, maybe do some squats. Do you have bands in the house? Do you have like little dumbbells? Do some squats with those. Maybe do some curls, like simple, basic kind of things. And then you would ask me, how many pull-ups did you actually do? How difficult was that? How many push-ups? How difficult? So you're assessing based on my results and my level of how I was encumbered or not during those exercises. And from there, you would just because I'm still in my head trying to come up with a way that you would know that my chest is stronger than my legs or whatever it is. So as you adjust down the line, am I on to that? Is that
Yeah,
kind of how you do that?
100%. So um, unless they tell me something out of the ordinary on the first call, we're gonna assume everything is balanced. Now, everything is never balanced, but that's what I'm going to start with, right? Just to see, right? So I'm gonna give a chest workout or chest exercise that's just as difficult as a leg exercise. That's just as difficult as a tricep exercise. And if you do 20 reps on one of them and only 5 reps on the other, that's how I know how to
I
continue
see.
adjusting.
I see.
And the communication is pretty easy because it's all through my app, right? They can click, see a video of me doing the exercise, and then they do the exercise. Then they type how many reps they did, right? So the communication is always very fast. It's not like there's miscommunication. And I typically give them like similar intensity of workouts within the week. After that, I can, adjust again.
Do you ever watch them actually do an exercise?
Yeah. So if I'm ever either skeptical of how many reps they actually did, or I'm skeptical they did the form right, I'm like, hey, let's do this together, or film yourself doing
Yeah.
it because something here does not make sense. And I've done this enough times that I can almost call them out before. So I'll be like, even if they don't show a video, I can tell them, be like, hey, did you happen to put your elbow over here? Be like, oh my God, how did you know? I'm like, yeah, I've done this before.
Yeah, exactly. Form wise. So if I were if if I were starting with you, I did the nutritional diary. We went through, we modified that together. We threw out a bunch of stuff, left it in, and then obviously later on we're going to modify again. What are the basic sort of exercises that I would start with until we get to personalize it for me? What would be some of the ones that you would suggest people start with?
So again, if you're 300 pounds, 200 pounds, it's going to be very different, right? If you have a knee injury or shoulder injury, that's going to be very different, right? But almost everyone, I start with body weight, even if they do have dumbbells or bands, just because it's a good assessment, right? So typically, I always get people to do knee push-ups. Basically, push-ups just on the knees. You can usually do more of them, right? Um, then there's wall sits. Basically, you put your back on the wall and your legs are at 90 degrees. Hold that. There's wall slides, which basically put your hands up and back down. For people that are just listening, you are basically doing like a lat pull down, if you know what that is, just
Yeah.
with your hands and keeping your back fully on the wall, right? Doing glute bridges. So like very simple exercises for each muscle group, so I can see where there's likely a deficiency. But yeah,
Got it.
obviously as we progress, then I'll have a lot more ideas.
As you continue working with you, you mentioned, somebody going for 300 pounds, 200 pounds, whatever. Do you monitor or do you suggest they monitor other levels that are going on in their bodies? So like hormone levels, if you're older, old like me, in your 50s, your testosterone level begins to deteriorate at some point. Exercise can help boost that, but other foods actually decrease that. So, do you suggest that they monitor like cortisol levels or hormone level, like testosterone levels or anything like that, or is that something that's outside the scope?
So because most of my clients have like work 16 hours a day, like have crazy schedules, right? They don't want to go to a lab and get the blood test.
Yeah.
Like even though that would be the most optimal, I think that would be a lot more beneficial for athletes. But the people I work with, they are not fitness people. They are where that because they don't they think they hate exercise. They think they hate healthy eating. They think they don't like everything that's good for them. That's where they are where they're at. Right. Obviously I show them how to actually enjoy living a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
But a lot of these people would not even care too much about their testosterone or cortisol. They'd be like, hey, I just want to fit into my favorite suit again. Right? I don't like the fact that I'm triple or quadruple XL. Like I want to change that. I want to get off CPAP. I want to get off medications.
Yeah.
And after you lose a significant amount of weight, the likelihood of you getting off CPAP, getting off medications, increases drastically. So
Mhm.
that's another win that I see a lot of my clients are able to accomplish. Right? They no longer need CPAP, which is a very big thing.
Yeah, I think if I were to describe that, you're basically doing a triage for at first, like let's get you stabilized, and
Yeah.
then because you can do hormone tests and all these things, they'll send it to your home. You can saliva swab it, or
Yeah.
and do it on your own. But I see what you're saying. That's not their priority. They just want to triage, like get me from here to here. Then I'll work on sculpting and getting better. That makes sense. What about supplementation? What are your thoughts on supplements? And is that something that you suggest to them, or is that out of scope also?
Yeah, so the only supplements I suggest is vitamin C and vitamin D. Super simple. Just because primarily I just don't want them to get sick, right? That's it. Because again, I'm not working with athletes, right? I'm
Yeah.
not trying to optimize it, just trying to get them to a healthy level, right? So most supplements get you from like the top 1 or 2%, 99% to the top 100. But most of the people I work with are like from the bottom 10% of health to, I get them to the top 10%, right? And if you just walk more, you'll increase your livelihood by 10, 15 years, right? If you take all the supplements in the world, you might increase your livelihood by like 1 or 2 years,
Yeah.
right?
Or
So I'm
six
focusing
months.
on the
Yeah.
big chunks. Yeah.
Uh, okay. So we're gonna, and then also you get your supplements from food, because you're
Oh,
modifying.
100%. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You get your vitamins from.
Yeah, so you're modifying the way you eat, and and then you get your vitamins from there. Um, what are the things that you must avoid, your top things that you should not be doing or eating, whatever, if you want to, that triage, the first whatever 6 months working with you, like you have to stop doing blank, whatever that is, to see the results.
So I'm gonna say all the things that you stop doing are not actual tangible actions, but they're more mindsets that you
Okay.
might have, right? So, like, one mindset is you should never have a food that you can never ever eat. Because when I say, hey, Len, you're not allowed to push this button, you can't push this button, whatever you do, make sure to not push this button. You're
Oh,
likely
so
to
you know
never push the
me. That's
button.
exactly what I
Exactly.
do. My mom said to me when I was a kid, "Stay away from the socket," and I immediately put her hairpin in the socket and got shocked. So it's exactly that.
Exactly. So never say never, as cliche as that sounds,
Yeah.
because again, if you tell people you can't eat this, they're more likely to binge. So we want to avoid that. And a lot of a big reason why so many people get to 300 pounds or a lot more overweight than they want to be is because they over restricted themselves and then they want to binging.
Hmm.
And the way you fix that is be like, hey, nothing is off limits ever. If you want the donut, you can have the donut, but make sure you have one donut and not 12, right? So I actually do the opposite. I'd be like, hey, schedule a day in which you'll have one donut.
Hmm.
And if you do that, you're likely to have one donut. But if I tell you for the next month you're allowed 0 donuts, you will probably be good for 2 weeks. Then you'll have 14 donuts on day 15. And that's going to set you back a lot.
It's interesting you bring this up because the psychology is a huge part of that. Be, you know, like you're telling me, and my level of discipline is not like I'm giving up meat. That means I'm giving up meat. Like there's no excuse, there's no cheat day, there's nothing like that. It's done until I decide a year later, 10 years later, a month later that it's not for me, but it's my decision. So there is a level of self-discipline. I gave up sugar. There is no sugar. It's not going in it. Like, I mean, I eat foods that convert to sugar and all that stuff. So I'm not as strict as that, but setting your mind to it. So you're just enlightening me a little bit that people that allow themselves to, get to a place where I'm not talking about overweight. A lot of us are, a few pounds, 10 pounds overweight. I don't know if obesity, I don't know about labels, but 3, 4, etc. Like people that are excessively, I don't know, overweight or obese or whatever. There's a mindset to that, right? For something got them to do that. So there's a psychology. Do you work with them on that as well, or suggest they speak to a professional also in conjunction with what you're doing?
So the biggest thing that I actually do is change people's beliefs,
Yeah.
which is the most challenging part of the job, but obviously that is what makes the biggest difference. Because getting someone to lose 100 pounds isn't 5 times more difficult than getting someone to lose 20 pounds. It's 1,000 times more difficult because you you have to change the beliefs. You have to change the way they view life, the way they view food, the way they view exercise. So because I've worked with so many people, I can identify these beliefs often before they even speak. But so many times, the reason why I came up with a button example is because I catch people say, "Hey, I know I can't eat this donut," but like, yeah, if you say that, eventually you're gonna binge. I've seen this too many times, so don't even say that. Another huge mindset difference that I found between people that are fit and people that are not in the best shape that they could be is that fit people view health and fitness on a continuum, while people that are out of shape view health and fitness as binary. So
Hmm.
let's say that you were scheduled to work out for 30 minutes, but life happened. The objective reality is you only have 20 minutes in your schedule. The fit person thinks, okay, I only have 20 minutes in my schedule, I'll do 20 minutes. The out of shape person says, I only have 20 minutes in the schedule, 20 is less than 30, I'm not going to do it. That's the mindset shift.
Huh, that's interesting. But that's so interesting. Binary, yeah, because once again, I'm putting myself into this equation. What can I should I don't have enough time to go on a long hike because the sun is gonna go. I don't want to walk with my dog, coyotes around and snakes. Uh, so I'm gonna go to the gym instead, even though that wasn't my first choice. So it's interesting that you say that. And the other person would be like, well, it's getting late, can't go on a hike, so TV and snacks or kind of thing, right?
Yeah. And this applies to everything. Let's say the objective reality is that you only have junk food around you. The
Yeah.
fit person says, I only have junk food around me. Well, I can still pick the healthiest choice of all the junk that's around me. The out of shape person says, well, you can't blame me. I only have junk around me. Might as well indulge. So it's a different mindset. And once you get in the fit mindset, it's like a skill set because it doesn't matter what country you put me in, I can always drive from point A to point B because I know how to drive. It doesn't matter what country you put me in, what situation you put me in, what body you put me in, eventually I'm going to look like me because I have that skill set.
So
So, same thing, fitness.
how do you what do you do to affect someone's mindset in that way?
It's a lot of conversations, and that's why one-on-one coaching, I believe, is one of like the only ways to actually change that. Because you can do anything to lose 20 pounds, but to lose 100 pounds, you have to change your entire foundation. And it, a lot of people try to build a 100-story building with a 10-story building foundation, and obviously that collapses. That's why if you try diets, right? Yeah, you might lose 20 pounds, but then you'll relapse. But if you view it differently and be like, hey, weight loss is not like relationships, so it's not like making money in the sense that that is dependent on other people. In regards to weight loss, every single minute of the day, you can make choices that will move you closer to your optimal well-being, will move you closer to where you want to be at. Doesn't matter what's going on, no matter what happened, this very minute, you can do something. You can walk more, you can drink more water, you can do something that'll get you closer to where you want to be. So it's always something you have control over.
Do you think or feel when I asked you the goal question, do you think that the goal that you have, which is, they say the why, if you have that why that you're driven to, it helps with the mental part of the game. I'll ask the question this way. Let's say my daughter's getting married and I have to fit into a tuxedo and I want to look good in front of people. So I have a short-term motivation to go and do everything that you're telling me to do because I have to appear there. Once I've completed that goal, well, my motivation is not the same as it was. So how do I maintain, that lifestyle change permanently on an ongoing basis instead of saying summer's coming, man, I gotta put on that winter weight, gotta look good in that bathing suit. So I have a goal that's short term.
That's a good question, and I'm gonna answer this in a 2 or 3 minute story, but I think it'll be worth it. So before that, I'm gonna preface that there's standards and then there's your aspirations, or your aspirations can be the same as your motivation. And a lot of people think that to improve themselves as a person, to raise higher, they should increase their aspirations, increase their motivation. But in the end of the day, you always fall to your standard. You always fall to your systems, your standards, what your baseline of what you accept, what your reality would be. So let's imagine then that you're driving and somebody cuts you off, almost causes you to crash, right? But luckily you have fast instincts, so you uh, hold the wheel, you don't crash, and all you see is the back of the guy's head and you see the number plate, right? And he just drives uh, he just drives forward. He doesn't give you a chance to like stop or talk to him. Later, a few minutes later, you go to a gas station, and in this gas station, it's just you, but you also see his car, and you see the number plate, you see the back of his head, and he went inside the cashier to pay because in this gas station, you pump the gas and you go inside to pay. So there's nobody inside the parking lot, and his car's inside. His car keys are inside the car. Do you get the scenario?
Yeah.
Oh, so he almost caused you to crash. Now you can still there's many options you could go about it. You can get inside his car and kill him and run him over. That is an option. You can get inside his car, crash it, and then drive away. Nobody would know. You can simply steal his car keys and say nothing. That way he would have to go to his dealership. It would be a hassle for him. You can do nothing. You can simply nod, smile, and act like it was wish him a good day. You can you can blame yourself, be like, hey, back there, that was me, by the way. I feel bad. I'm going to pay for your gas, right? You can go a step above that, be like, hey, um, here's all the cash that I have. I just feel so bad because I almost caused you to crash, right?
Mhm.
There's many different scenarios in which you can react to what has happened. Now, I say your standard is what you do at your worst. Your aspiration and motivation is what you do at your best. So my point is, in my opinion, whether you do nothing or whether you wish him a great day or even give him a bunch of money, your reality will change minusculely. It will change a bit, maybe. Like you might feel better about yourself for like a week, maybe. However, if at your worst you decide to kill him or you decide to do nothing, that is going to change your life drastically. That's going to change the trajectory of your life completely, right? Even if you got away with it, you're going to have to be on the run for the rest of your life. Like your life is never going to be the same. So all that to say that what you do at your best is beneficial, but what you do at your worst matters way more. What you act like when you're in the worst mood, when nothing's going well, that's going to have a much bigger impact on your life than what you do when you're super motivated and everything is going well. Because the difference between me and most people, even that are 300 pounds, my best and their best looks identical. I promise you. Between January 1st to January 8th, their best and my best any other week is the same.
Yeah.
All of us work out 5 days a week. All of us get high quality sleep. Everyone drinks protein, everyone drinks water, everyone hits their protein goals. Most people's best is identical. It's not that different. However, the person that's 300 pounds, their worst is donuts and cakes and binging, all that.
Yeah.
My worst week, when nothing went right, when everything went to shit, when like all hell breaks loose, when everything was crumbling in front of my eyes. What that means was I only worked out 3 times a week. I only drank
Yeah.
water occasionally. I only ate protein sometimes. That is my worst, and that's why I'm who I am. So long-winded answer to say, sure, improving your motivation would improve a bit. Improving your standard, who you are at your worst, would make all the difference.
Yeah, raise your standards. I completely understand and agree with that. If you were to tell somebody like, and I know that I hate when people ask me this question, so I'm asking it anyway. You may not enjoy it, but what's one thing that you can do to get the biggest, I guess, spike of results? If you just were to do like one thing, what would that be?
Genie was to say you have one wish, my wish would be to have more wishes. So the most accurate answer I could give you is, because the reality is there isn't one thing that's missing, it's a thousand little things.
Yeah.
So the only way to get a thousand little things is to hire someone that has been there, done that for other people. Obviously, that's a super biased answer, but I would apply that same logic for anything. If you want to get better at playing piano, if I was asked what's the one thing I could do, sure, you could be like, hey, play this one song or focus on this one note. But the most accurate answer that you could actually give me is, hey, here's the best piano teacher of all time. Hire him, you'll be good to go. That's the best answer you could give.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And the reason why I preface it, but I don't like this question, but people ask me all the time. The reason why I even ask that is because I don't, I'm thinking, should I mention people's? Yeah, okay. So Dr. Gundry, okay. So Dr. Gundry, if anybody doesn't can look him up, he used to be a heart doctor, and his one thing that he talks about is a lectin. Lectin. You have
I
to
know
give
who
up.
it is. I know
Yeah.
who that is.
Yeah,
Yes.
you have to give up lectin. So there's one thing, and everything that he was doing is all about giving up lectin. So if you do that, and there's a whole bunch of lectin foods, everybody can Google it, but that's one thing. I don't know. I've done that. It was an extremely difficult thing for me to do because I don't eat meat, and there was a lot of focus on meat, and I like nightshades and I like legumes, and a lot of them have lectin in it. So it was a thing that I tried just to see if I could do it, but it's not something I could sustain over time. So that's why I was asking. Some people say if you were to do one single thing, one is like lectin, or give up sugar. Sugar is poison. Just don't eat. If you'll see the most results of giving one thing. But I must agree with you that it's one thing that you give up is not enough. It's not sustainable. You have to look at, and maybe for some people, that one thing that you give up is not the same, it won't have the same results as for another person that gives up the same kind of thing, because we metabolize things differently. We have different hormone levels. We have different body shapes, body styles, and all these other things. So yeah, I tend to agree with what you're saying. Not one thing. Or if there is one thing, is hire a coach. And that's that one thing, right?
Yeah. Think about it like driving a car, right? Like, what's the one thing I can do to ace this driving test?
Yeah.
I can be like, hey, make sure you go on green, make sure green means go, red means stop, good luck. I can
Yeah.
say that,
Yeah.
right? I can be like, hey, make sure to look twice after you stop at the stop sign. Like, there's small things I could say, but the reality is it depends on the person. Because some people, what the struggle is, they get nervous on the highway,
Yeah.
right? There's so many things that could be the missing link. So hire a driving instructor.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty well accepted that if you want to pass a driving test, you hire a driving
Yeah.
instructor.
Hire an expert. So a weird question, unrelated to anything that we're talking about, but having Israeli in your name with all the craziness that's going on in the world right now, do you see this as a detriment, a benefit? You don't give a shit about it, and are you getting flack? Are you getting love? Is like I'm just curious what you've been seeing in the world. Prefacing, I'm Jewish and I'm a huge supporter of Israel, and
Yeah.
and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm biased. I'm
Yeah.
saying, but biased with mankind, and
Yeah.
I believe I'm on the right side of history.
Oh, 100%. And obviously, you could argue about the history and politics till the end of times. But yeah, the reason why I actually changed my social media to Daniel Raz of Daniel Israeli is because when I first started my social media, is because I already had a Facebook, already had an Instagram, but I wanted to make like a business one. So I just um, changed the name, right? But then I kept it that way just because obviously the bigger you are online, the more hate you'll get just for existing.
Right.
And on top of that, yeah, being from Israel is not helpful in terms of minimizing the hate,
Yeah.
right? But like if anybody asks me, I'm not gonna lie, right? I'm always gonna tell them where I'm from. But I would say, yeah, a lot of like I have over 50,000 followers on my Twitter. A lot of them I can see like I can see the flags in the bio. I can see that if they knew where I was from, they would have blocked me or whatever. But like I don't talk about I just talk about fitness, right? So it's
Yeah.
my page is different. But yeah, I definitely don't think it helps. Like I do think if I changed my name from Daniel Raz to Daniel Israeli on my Twitter, I wouldn't have 50,000 followers. I think I would have way less, right? But the people who hate the country or think because like let's say that I agree with this attention, but like let's say that I agree with you, that still has nothing to do with me. Like I'm not the guy who is doing any of that, right? So what doesn't matter if I completely agree with you or disagree, that has nothing to do with me. I was happen to born in the same country. Okay. That's like saying somebody in Mongolia named Josh killed a bunch of people. Your name is also Josh, therefore you're a bad person. Okay, but even the other end, right? Even if Josh won the Nobel Peace Prize, that still has nothing to do with you just because your name is also Josh, right?
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with it.
Oh, we know
But
what
yeah,
it has to do with. We all know because you're
yeah,
absolutely right. Look, a country can go invade another country just like America did with Iraq, and a country
yeah,
can respond to an action like the U.S. did
yeah,
with Afghanistan and kill innocent, not innocent. But your Josh example, I have no control over what the military or the president or the politics
yeah,
do, but you're gonna hate on me because I am of my race or some of that.
yeah,
It reminds me of when Pearl Harbor happened in the United States. The United States government decided they're going to do internment camps for Japanese Americans that were
yeah,
living
right,
in them. What do they have to do with Pearl Harbor? It's a
yeah,
ridiculous thing, but we all know that there is racism, anti-Semitism, and all those other things
yeah,
that play a role in it, which is really an odd thing. So, I commend you for using Israeli as a moniker for that sometimes, but I'm sure it
yeah,
it backfires from here time to time. But you're because you're a public figure. All right, so I
yeah,
have a couple questions. I ask my my guests about music related stuff. I'm a big fan of
yeah.
music. So, do you remember the very first concert that you ever attended, and if so, what
Yeah.
was it?
The Killers,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
uh, the Killers.
Oh, the Killers. Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
cool. What was the last concert you attended?
I've only been to that in Drake.
Okay. Drake is cool. I
That's
went
it.
there with my daughter. All right, so let's see how this works out. Uh, you can only listen to 5 albums for 1 year, but you don't have to remember the name of the album. Like you just said, Drake could be a Drake album. What would be
Yeah.
those 5 albums that you would listen to for 1 year?
Ooh, I'm actually not a big music person in general, so
Yeah.
I only listen to music when I work out, or hardly ever, to be honest.
Uh,
Right? When I'm in the car, like I let other people pick my songs. Having that said, um, I mean, I think, hmm, um, for life, yeah, I guess. Is it just me or am I with other people? I feel like that'll change my answer.
It doesn't matter. You just
Yeah,
5 albums, like so if you like Drake, it could be one is a
yeah.
Drake album, one of them is a Killers album, one of them is
So
whatever.
yeah, I'm gonna say um it's gonna be super like varied. So I'm gonna say Drake, I'm gonna say Coldplay, I'm gonna say 50 Cent, I'm going to say the Beatles, and I will say Queen.
Awesome list. Like it. All right, cool. All right. Final bonus question. Please describe what your room looked like growing up.
What my room looked like
Yeah.
growing up from what ages?
This is your choice. Any room that you want to describe that is memorable to you. Obviously, it can't be a room before you were 12 years old because you have no recollection of that. So,
Yeah. So because I went back to the reason why I asked is because I went back to the house
okay.
that I grew up. So I remember just like a bunker bed. But I don't remember being there as a kid, but obviously I remember seeing it after. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's so small. How did I fit into that? But yeah, my room in China was just like a bed, desk, computer. Oh, I did have like posters of like basketball athletes.
There you
I
go.
did have that.
Who did you have?
I had Russell Westbrook. I had Michael Jordan, and then I just had a bunch of like quotes.
Got it. Okay. Um, Daniel, where can people engage with you, find you online, get your coaching?
So I'm most active on X or Twitter at Daniel Raz underscore fit. If you type Daniel Raz underscore fit on Instagram or YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook, you'll also find me there. And my website is danielrazfit.com. That's DANIELIZFIT.com. Talk with me. I'll be happy to show you all my testimonials and to see if us working together makes sense.
Great, man. I want to thank you so much for being on. Really appreciate your time. It's great.
Thanks a lot.